The following is a presentation of the Eagles Sports Network.
All right. Mike Clowney, Catawba Senior Day, Veterans Appreciation Day. Start us off with a statement about the final week of the year.
I mean, I say exciting, kind of sad time for us. When you've got a group of guys that's been in the program that's worked their tail off, that's kind of come to the end of their eligibility. It's always mixed emotions. It's kind of sad to see them leave, but I'm excited for the prospects of what they're going to be able to go out here in this world and be able to do.
20 of them, pretty substantial senior class, especially between special teams and your defensive line. What has this group meant to you as a head coach, especially in some areas, bridging the gap from your time as associate head coach and running backs coach to now as head coach?
It's wild because you're starting to see a little bit like the back end of that one group to where I was an assistant, and then like some of these guys that are leaving the front end of me being a head coach, and just it's like I say, it's just a day that you kind of meet with mixed emotions, man. You enjoy having them, you build those relationships with them, and it's hard to watch them walk out. But at the same time, that's what we've been training them to do.
We've got a lot of, random to touch on. Unfortunately, Carl Torbush passes away on Sunday night, Monday morning. Two-sport All-American, a Hall of Famer, an assistant coach, one of the best linebackers to ever suit up here at Carson Newman. What has he meant to you in this program for years?
A ton. I mean, as a player here, I come through playing. Torbush was at the University of North Carolina then, which was a really big deal. And then kind of on the back end of me playing and deciding to get into coaching, he kind of become the head coach at the University of North Carolina. And just to be able to see a guy from this institution achieve that level of success, he was naturally somebody that you kept up with, you followed. My first time really meeting him was at AFCA Coaches Convention. I didn't really talk to him. I was kind of shy. Didn't really want to say anything to him because he's kind of like a superstar at that point in time, especially in my career. And just going and watching him do chalk talks, he's a guy that's been here through here. And, and then you kind of see him start to get a little bit more involved in the program after he left North Carolina, and then eventually coming back here to be an assistant coach. I always joke with him, like he saved my spot. I left here, Torbush came in, and then when he left, I came back. And so I'm just grateful for him and, just even being an assistant coach and becoming the head coach. That's why I was talking to one of our players, the kid that we shared at linebacker, Elliot Jackson, a couple of weeks ago. But we were both just talking about, hadn't seen him, hadn't talked to him, trying to figure out what was going on. And that was the thing. I was like, man, he's just kind of always here, at baseball, watching baseball game in the spring, come over, watch spring practice, fall camp. He's here just kind of being an encourager. And then, even going through the football, especially that first season, man, just, him with a text message, always resonated big, in a lot of those situations. And just, not having him around, I think is going to be tough for all of us. Like I said, we pray for his family moving forward. But, grateful for the testament and things that he stood for. I think he spent his time here on this earth very well.
Catawba, much improved from last year. Tyler Haynes has done a nice job in his first year as head coach. Definitely feels like the influences of Shepherd have made their way into the South Atlantic Conference. And Preston Brown is one of the top 3 passers in the league. How do you slow down what Catawba does through the air?
I think the thing that we've got to do is we've got to be sound in our approach. We've got to continue to do a good job of getting pressure up front. Forcing winning first down is still going to be a big deal. Keeping them in those second, third, and longs to where we can try to force them to be predictable. We've got to know where receiver number 6 is. We got to know exactly where he's at. They do a good job of putting him in different spots and places. Solid football player, that complements the rest of their roster really well.
You bring up Pryor. He is probably last year I thought he was one of the most dynamic players in the South Atlantic Conference. I think he's cemented that between what he does catching, running, I don't know that he's thrown for one this year, but elite in special teams as well. What makes him such a dynamic player?
Yeah, he's got really good top end speed, which is scary when you look at his lateral quickness. He does a good job. He can make people miss. You know, you were watching the clip yesterday, special teams, where you got two guys that's got him out leveraged, and I think his speed's deceptive because he winds up beating both of them to the corner. And so, I mean, he is just he's an electrifying player.
Your team has been trending in feels like it's on a rocket ship right now with how you played the last 2 weeks. A winning season is still potentially in the cards with a win on Saturday. How do you continue the strong complementary football you've played these last 2 weeks to close out the year?
I think it's going to be us continue to pull together. We've been able to, like you say, play complementary football, continue those guys doing their job in special teams, doing it offensively, doing it defensively. I think the big key is doing it with great energy and enthusiasm. I think that's been the difference, the last couple of weeks as, guys have showed up. We've been excited about the time that we spent together, not just on Saturday, but during the week. Some of that carried over, a little bit different week this week with civic engagement day to day. But that showed some of them yesterday, and hopefully it'll continue to show this week and throughout Saturday.
Last year, I mean, literally the script for the season has been about the same in terms of record, with maybe you flip-flop weeks 1 and 2 from last year to this year. Last year it felt like the final 3 weeks of the year were baby steps. This year it feels like giant leaps. Is that just the natural progression of this team carrying over last year to this year and finding its success late in the year?
I think it is, and I think, like we talked about, just guys are finally, especially from an offensive standpoint, I think we played solid defensively, the majority of the year. The biggest thing has been some growing pains offensively. I think now that we're a little bit later in, guys have a better concept of what's going on. We've got a little bit better flow offensively. We're starting to get to where we minimize some of the mistakes that we made early in the season from a kicking standpoint, and a lot of that comes from, guys, a little bit more buy-in, I think a little bit more understanding of what we're doing, and then a little bit more enthusiasm about doing it.
What does that say, not just about your players, but the job of your coaching staff as well to maintain that growth?
I think it says a lot, from a player standpoint. Anytime you're going through hard times, like, kids have a chance to make a decision. And so our guys decided that they're going to pull together. And that's what we talked about. You always want to start strong, finish strong. Probably didn't start, exactly the way that we wanted to. But I think our guys kind of understood some of that flow. But, we have an opportunity this week to finish strong, and that's what we want to try to do.